President Trump is about to meet in the Situation Room with his top intel officials, considering how to respond to Iran. Here was the president just from yesterday.
What's your message to Americans, both here and abroad, who are not only concerned about the U.S. potentially getting involved in another conflict in the Middle East, but worry about the potential for retaliation here at home?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get involved either, but I've been saying for 20 years, maybe longer, that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
A growing list of reports indicate a U.S. strike on Iran could be imminent. The Wall Street Journal reporting the president approved final attack plans, but has not given the green light. And if you've been watching Fox today, you know that the president has refuted that. We'll see what happens. A source tells ABC News that Trump is getting comfortable with striking an Iranian nuclear facility. And Bloomberg says on potential plans for an attack this weekend, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich expects a sea change.
The original Ayatollah Khomeini first started calling us the Great Satan in 1978. They have been taunting us, attacking us, harassing us all these years through all these presidents. And finally, they have collided with Donald J. Trump. He and Netanyahu are partners, much like Reagan and Margaret Thatcher were partners. And the two of them are going to change history decisively.
Let's go to the White House. Senior correspondent there, Peter Doocy. Peter.
Harris, the Situation Room on the lower level of the West Wing is being prepared for President Trump right now. We expect him to be there about 25 minutes from now for the latest intelligence update. And we know that recently in there, he has been asking intel and military advisors about these bunker buster bombs and whether or not they would actually be effective at destroying Iranian underground nuclear infrastructure. That said, all options remain on the table, including diplomacy, but we are finding out that it's pretty tough for these Iranian diplomats and negotiators who want to come to the White House next week to actually get out of Iran.
Yeah, I mean, they asked if they could come, and we'll see if that happens. It's not that easy for them to come. They can't get out. You know, they're in Iran, and in one case, the guy wanted to come so badly, but he can't get out because there's bombs dropping all over the place.
Officials here are not calling for regime change in Iran, but they do see Iran as having less and less leverage with every successful Israeli strike.
I have a plan for everything, but we'll see what happens. Got a ways to go. They should have, look, they should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's, you know, it's a little late to meet.
President Trump is not considering a long-term military engagement against Iran. But even with that said, the Iranians are saying if the U.S. gets involved at all, they will be retaliating against American targets that they can reach. Harris.
Peter, thank you very much. And as we have been reporting, an option the president is considering is using a so-called bunker-busting bomb on Iran's Fordow nuclear site, which is built deep into the side of a mountain. The president has been pressing his military advisors on the efficacy of that strategy. And here is a look at how that weapon would work. First, a B-2 Spirit stealth bomber plane flies over the target. It uses GPS and inertial navigation to guide the bomb. It actually drops two separate bombs. The first bomb creates a hole penetrating up to 200 feet below the surface. Then the carrier drops the second bomb, which goes even deeper and creates damage, a lot of damage. Brett Sadler, retired Navy captain, former Pentagon official under both Obama and Trump, and Heritage Foundation senior fellow. Great to see you today. So first of all, this two-step, are we ready to do this? I know that that type of a plane will need to be refueled, and I believe it's based in the Midwest, Missouri, here in the United States. That's a long way to go. What are the options in terms of success on the first try?
Well, first is if the president decides to commit forces to this, yes, the B-2 with the GBU-57 would be the weapon of choice, specifically going after the deeply buried site under the mountain in Fordow. Again, not being familiar with the geologic makeup, you know, the rock and the composition around the site and how it's reinforced, really will be what determines how many of these bombs and also the altitude in which they must be dropped in order to assure that you penetrate deep enough to at least have the maximum damage effect.
What is the risk at this? You know, I look at how many of our men and women are in that region, north of 40,000. Some estimates put it at 60 with support personnel, and of course some of their families as well. What is the risk of going in there and getting involved? What likely is the president being told as he gets ready to gather in the Situation Room?
Well, to be clear, during the previous administration under Joe Biden, there were hundreds of attacks against our forces, many of them unreported, and some of them fatal. So the threat has always been there. Absent an attack like this that Israel is long overdue executing to go and destroy Iran's nuclear program. So the threat is real. Fifth Fleet, which is based in Bahrain, has sorted their ships out of the Arabian Gulf and into the Arabian Sea. I think that's prudent. And again, the threat is definitely real. But so far, Iran's leadership has not made the mistake of attacking U.S. forces.
And then I want to talk with you about this. The Israelis in the southern part of their country are living in an intense climate of alert and fear right now as Iran is bombarding that southern region with missiles. Let's take a look at an extremely compelling look at what's happening to some of those families, those people even with businesses there. The Wall Street Journal's Middle East Bureau takes us inside one bomb shelter under one woman's home.
I live in central Tel Aviv with my family, with my husband and 3 kids. We're in a neighborhood that is about 15 minutes from the Kiryat, which is Israel's version of the Pentagon. So we are right in the line of fire. Here we are now entering the stairs to go all the way down to the bomb shelter. We have our sleeping bags and some of my kids' blankets from upstairs, and we brought some toys. One of the things that we've learned is to make sure we have lots of videos available. We don't want them kind of just like waiting and hearing the sounds of these loud booms, which can be really traumatic for them. We've got a hole in the ground to use as a toilet. It's also very hot. There's no fresh air, so it's incredibly uncomfortable and hard to breathe. We've kind of become good at telling when a boom is the Iron Dome blowing up a missile in the sky and when a boom is a fall. And when it's a fall, it's just a much deeper crash, obviously. It sort of gets into your bones.
Look, you mentioned before the threat either against our people who are stationed in that region and people living throughout Israel is always there from Iran. But it seems like they are targeting residential areas and places that they know are not military sites. Am I wrong about that?
Yes, I think the tactics that the Iranians are now, it's coming out of futility and realizing that their military options are rapidly dwindling. The use of cluster munitions or these smaller multiple warheads on a ballistic missile seems to be a misuse of what could be carrying a large warhead against a military site or a headquarters. But instead, they're putting smaller bombs on there that do disperse broadly, really as an act of terror to try to coerce or compel the Israelis to relent on their attack. Because quite frankly, this war that has to be finished quickly, it's actually accelerating to Israel's benefit and to their success.
And what about Iran? I mean, they know that psychologically this is tough on the Israeli people. And I would imagine that some of the decision process that our own president will go through. Your last quick note on what he is shifting through and sifting through right now toward a decision.
Well, none of that surprises many because this regime in Tehran is masters of terror. And this fits to their character. And again, it's the reason why this war needs to be fought to its conclusion. So we're not repeating this in another couple of months or years.
Prince Adler, thank you very much. Appreciate your expertise and time.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Compagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.